Hey guys, thanks for joining me for another Dissidia Final Fantasy Opera Omnia video, and today we are doing the newest 6-man fight. So this is Area 5. This is a hard one. I'm just going to say that right now. Oddly enough, I did get it done on my first attempt, but like, it's a long fight. This fight isn't very clean. The video length on this is a 40-minute fight, by the way. So I don't know if I'm going to make this video 40 minutes. I'm probably going to just explain the main points, talk about my team, things like that. And then I'll probably kind of like fast forward or like highlight some points. But I don't know that I want to commentate for 40 minutes over this, right? And once again, this could have been done cleaner. I made some poor choices at some points, but I was still able to work through those. But really, the way I get through this fight is I just bring 6 really busted characters, right? So let's talk about the mechanics and what these enemies are doing. So obviously, they're showcasing Balthier hard. And this is a fight where they're pushing a character extremely hard to the point where I think this fight has... I've said this before about other fights. I like difficult fights. I think it's good to have things that are difficult. This is a fight that just seems a little over the top to where it has, I would say, just one too many mechanics. Like, I think if you tune down one of the mechanics a little bit, it would be a little bit more reasonable. Because what's frustrating, I'll just kind of go through all the tough parts about this fight. So one is the enemies put, like, ridiculous buffs on themselves where you can't damage them, essentially. Which is why you need Balthier, so you can steal it. And the idea is they want you to have Balthier BT, steal it, give it to the whole party, make your whole party, like, invincible. Like, Balthier with BT is probably going to make this a lot easier. Now, my run is Balthier, no BT, and it's also no twins. And I think that they kind of cater this fight to the twins a little bit, too, because it's a 3-target fight. So, one thing you're dealing with is they put up, like, really nasty buffs that you have to be able to take care of, otherwise you're just not going to damage them. The FR requirement is very stingy, kind of like Pain's. And I'm not a fan of these FR requirements that, like, require you to cleanse a debuff. Because, you know, if I'm playing the game well, I probably want to play it so that I just don't get debuffs, right? Like, maybe I put Raijin on, or maybe I use a debuff evasion character, right? But if you do that, then you use Balthier's FR and it doesn't stop it. And what's really nasty about their force time, it's not like they, like, outright kill you or anything. But basically, anytime you deal damage to them, they recover like 90% of it back or something ridiculous. It basically makes it so you barely do damage to them, and it makes the fight take forever if you can't deal with it. So the reason why this fight went 40 minutes was because, you know, obviously I planned to use Balthier Force to negate their force time, right? But where I messed up in this fight is I ended up echoing with Balthier, and I definitely shouldn't have done that. I should have saved his FR for another one. Because what happened at the end of the fight is they end up getting, I think, two force times that I just have to fight through, where I basically don't do any damage to them, and we just kind of slog through it and get there. And it doesn't matter how much damage you heal, they heal a percentage of it back, so you can't, like, get ahead of them. Like, it's tough. Like, you still technically make gains, but it's very, very low gains. It's like, you'll hit them for 2% and then they'll gain a percent back, or you knock 5% off, they get 4% back. Like, it's ridiculous. So you really want to cancel their force if they go into it, and they're not the slowest ramping. They ramp pretty quick, right? So that's the first thing that's kind of nasty about them. The other thing that is super annoying is during one of their phases, I believe, so what it is the guy on the far left, the big machine dude, he puts on, like, really beefy, ridiculous shields. And this is where they're selling twins, because you need a lot of damage to beat through the shields. And I think if you don't beat enough damage, like, you don't do any damage to the shield. So it's like, you can't just poke away at the shields and whittle them down. Like, you got to do big damage. And the shields are in 3 phases. So, like, you kill a shield, he immediately puts a stronger shield on. You kill that shield, he immediately puts another stronger shield on. And you got to get through that one. And then you finally crumble the defenses and you do some damage, but that only lasts until the next threshold, and then you got to do it again. So that shield mechanic is really annoying. And then when they're in the shield mechanic, I believe it has to do, like, if they reduce a certain amount of your brave damage, then one guy just, like, auto-paralyzes the whole party. And that is, like, stupid frustrating, because you're going to be in the middle of a force time, and those paralyzed turns, they just, like, they basically waste 3 of your force turns. Now, if Balthier has, like, the right buff stolen or whatever, like, sometimes they'll miss Balthier and then he can cleanse them. But even if you have Balthier there to cleanse them, it's still annoying that if another character goes, you waste the force turn, right? So then it's like, all right, well then, so what I did in this fight is I made sure to have Aerith around as one of my characters. And so I have Aerith for, at the right moments, I can put Steel Evil down so that I don't take those paralyzes. So that's how I deal with that. Dealing with that is a pretty big deal, right? And then, yeah, so for me, like, I think the part I want them to tone down on the fight is, like, I think during their forced, like, just don't give them that ridiculous amount of healing. Because I think without that, it's a little bit better. So here they're in forced time, so you're going to see it in action here. I did bring Selfie just to provide launching, because I'm like, I need all the damage. But here, I can deal all the damage I want. You're going to see them. They're going to, like, heal back. And so I don't know that I even realized it at this point, because like I said, I did get this done on my first attempt. Now, I had some experience with the fight because I did attempt Dare to Defy to, like, learn to fight, but this is my first time actually doing the 6-man. So I brought Queena, you know, because my thought was that Queena's BT effect would allow me to do true HP damage through the shields. Well, it actually doesn't work, which I was really disappointed because I want Queena to be my true cheat code. Like, I want to work around everything. So it didn't work, but I did find Queena was still valuable because the heat traps were really strong. But you can see behind every damage, the enemies get green numbers and they're healing like 90% of it back. It's really frustrating. So like, until I cancel this out, so I'm like, all right, Balthier, let's cancel this sucker out. And what's really dumb is even on this attack where I cancel, they still get the heal back on this attack. Then it cancels the force, and then finally we're done dealing with that. So now we're going, yeah, you can see all the recovery behind them, right? Big numbers. So it's like we barely do damage. So now we get them back to normal. So you really need that Balthier to, like, get out of it, right? They're selling Balthier hard here. And then we can go through and kind of keep doing normal damage. So that's essentially how the fight goes, right? To just kind of summarize it for you is, I'll talk about my team build here. So you can see we've got Queena, we've got Aerith, we got Selfie, Balthier. So Balthier's there really to deal with the main mechanics, but I don't, you know, keep Balthier in all the time. Obviously during his force time I want to keep him in because I want to be able to cancel their force and deal with, like, the nasty buffs and stuff that they throw down, right? So we got those three there. We brought Selfie for launching, and then I've got Tifa chilling on my bench. So I use Tifa to deal the big bad damage, and Tifa's the one that really helps get me through it. It's really, like, annoying though because this boss, and this is typical for 6-man, they give them a lot of mechanics because they know you have a large roster of characters to deal with it, right? So the thing that I got frustrated with was like, all right, I just want to get them in a mode where they don't have their shields up and they don't have, like, a buff to, like, stop damage, and I just want to get a Tifa burst and just, like, go crazy. I never really found a good moment I could do that because every time I was about ready to set up for it, then they would hit a threshold and either put the big shields on or they would put a buff on that I needed Balthier then to take care of. And so it was just a fight where, like, you know, I think I decided early on, I just used Queena burst phase to get Queena kind of set. Because it's a kind of fight where, like, you don't want to get stuck in a burst phase with the wrong character and the enemy goes into a mode where you can't damage them because then you're just wasting all that damage, right? So I think it's when you just kind of got to float around, use your party members. Now, I do like the freedom of 6-man because I can kind of go to my bench, so to speak, whenever I want, grab kind of whatever I need at the time. So I'm trying to go really hard on this first force. Like, I'm echoing with characters, getting the gauge up. I think a couple of things I did wrong on this first force. Like I said, I think I do actually echo with Balthier, which I should have just saved as force time. And I basically overcharged. I got to the point where I was at 999 too early, and I pretty much, like, wasted other force time. So realistically, I should have, like, probably done 2 less echoes, because had I had 1 or even 2 more force times, like, this would have been way quicker than 40 minutes. The reason why this is 40 minutes is near the end, I gotta go, I think I gotta take them down, like, 20% or something without a force, 20 or 30% of their health without a force. So it did just become a slog of a fight. But this team, I think, is very sound. Like, I'm very happy with my team choice. And once again, this was Balthier without BT. Here's the beefy shields, by the way. So you can kind of see these going. And they're HP and Brave shields. So, like, you kind of got to get through both. It's crazy. So they just want you to do a ton of damage. So, like, I'm going to use an Echo here. This was probably a mistake, Echo, to be honest. I'm doing it for damage on the shields, but it's not actually going to deal damage, right? Because those shields are up. So watch this. You can see we burned through the shields, like, pretty dang good, but we got 0 damage down. But we did... but then that was the last shield. We got them crumbled. Now our heat traps are going. It did save us a turn of force and give us percentage, but man, that was a lot of damage we left on the table, right? But that's the thing, you kind of have to. Like, you can't just poke at him. You've got to do heavy attacks to get through those shields. You just have to. Oh, the other, like, weird mechanic I didn't even tell you about is at the end, when you get them down to 1%, they, like, don't die. So, like, I had to get them all down to 1%. I'm honestly still not even 100% how that part works. I knew that they would have some mechanic for twins where, like, they want you to probably, like, kill them all at the same time or keep them even. What I found was I got them all down to 1%. And then I was just, like, randomly attacking them, and then they started dying off. And it took, like, 3 more turns, and then they died. So, whatever, I got through it, and we made it, right? And we got there. So, I'm trying to think if there was anything else I wanted to, like, kind of showcase here. I mean, we'll get through this force, but like I said, I just use way too many forces here. But I'll probably just, like, start skipping towards the end. Because, once again, we got another half hour in this fight. It was a long slog of a fight. It's going to be tough figuring out Dare to Defy because it is the same fight. I'm pretty sure it's got to be toned down, though. Like, that would be just mean to have this fight, like, as is for Dare to Defy. Because not only is you get, like, 3 less characters, but you're also on a limited roster. But I'm going to have to figure out what team I want to do. I think I'm getting close to figuring it out. Obviously, I've got to have Balthier, but I've got to have that right mix of, like, figuring out how to deal with the paralysis, but still doing enough damage, having healing. A lot of things to consider, and it's something where I might have to go and open Aerith back up, or, you know, maybe I want to grab Quina. I don't know. I've tried doing, like, Rubicante, but he just gets stuck in, you know, if they paralyze him, then he's not countering, and you get stuck in modes where, you know, if the enemies have shields up and you're attacking, you're just kind of, like, not getting much out of Rubicante. He doesn't do enough to get through the shield, so it's just kind of, like, pointless damage. So I really want to do an off turn with this fight because there's 3 enemies and they're going to attack a lot, but I'm just finding that off turn I just think isn't going to work. They have too many mechanics that just stop your damage, and those I think are, like, the most annoying mechanics to me because I want to be able to, like, use more characters. You know, I something I've been wanting to talk about Rubicante. I've actually been pretty disappointed with Rubicante in that not his kid or anything, he's freaking amazing. I guess I'm more disappointed with the devs because I feel like they've been shutting him out. Like, he was so good for his fight, and, like, I've tried him on other past fights and he's just ridiculous, but, like, a lot of these fights since he's come out, they have ways of stopping the Rubicante solo, and that's what I want to do, is I want to do Rubicante solo. And I know people have done it on, I think it was the last one or the one before, but it's like, they're not very free and easy. Like, you have to, like, have specific calls and, like, deal with stuff. And I just get so frustrated with these bosses that they go into modes where you do 0 damage unless you do a specific thing. That kind of stuff I just find really annoying. Like, I feel like any character should be able to deal damage through the fight, right? But I guess they know how good Rubicante is. It's kind of like if you're a veteran and you remember when Paladin Cecil got his LD, he was, like, the best character in the game, like, best support character, whatever. And he was, like, crucial to, I think it was Dimensions End Transcendence Tier 1, like, the very first one. He was, like, almost essential for that fight, and he was, like, godly. And then, like, they went an entire month of, like, holy resist on everything. Like, holy couldn't touch any fight. It was holy lockouts for, like, months. It was ridiculous. So I kind of don't like when they do that, because it's like, what's the point of getting this busted character if you're gonna lock him out right now? It's not as bad with Rubicante, and I'm sure he can get through more of the fights if I tried, you know, some different comps. A lot of it though is like, I usually get the new character and just want to use them anyways, but we'll see. I'm hoping there's a spot in this Dare to Defy where I can do the Rubicante solo, or at least use him in conjunction. I feel like he could get through this fight. I might just have to try a little bit more, but I think I'm going to try some different strats here. I think the big issue I had with the Rubicante attempt was getting through the shields. But you can see here now we got my girl Tifa out, trying to do some damage. We're at really high percent, but you can see we overcharge, right? We're at 985 with 4 turns. So we just went way too heavy with the charging here. I needed to take it a little bit slower. And there we actually almost died. I actually forgot that happened. That's the other thing. Like, so when I've been doing a lot of these attempts with other characters on Dare to Defy, like, I'm like, yeah, this team can do it. I've got the fight figured out. And then they just laser me and kill me. So it's like, okay, can I get enough of a tank in there? Or can I get evasion in there? Can I get healing? It's like, this is why the 6-man was fine, because I have enough characters to cover all those roles. But Dare to Defy, man, 3 characters and you're on a limited, you know, you're in the middle of lockout. it's tough to cover all the roles you need for all the mechanics of this fight. And I'm a little bit worried, being that this is like a, global first Dare to Defy kind of fight. But you guys can all let me know how you dealt with the Dare to Defy version. As soon as I get a run up, I will post it for sure. I'm still working on it. It's hard because DOKKAN just dropped a lot of stuff. I'm trying to get coverage on that. I'm still trying to play games on my own on the side that I like playing. Breath of the Wild's out. I'm playing Honkai Star Rail. So still doing school stuff. It's just busy. It's busy. I'm just going to tell you guys this right now. Summer cannot come soon enough. I am just waiting for it, so I have time to like really dive into some more YouTube stuff and catch up on some of these games, right? All right. Well, at this point, I mean, I think you guys have basically seen it. You can see the enemies are kind of low, right? But the problem is yeah, we burned through, I think, both Balthier forces, so it just becomes a slog. Now, we do have other forces to use, but they kind of end up getting negated because they go into their force time at certain points, and they just heal so much damage back. So, let me go ahead. Let's fast forward our fight a little bit. I guess we'll get through this last damage here, and just see how low we have them after this, like, big force session we did. So we end on a Fires of War. And, the launch damage was definitely nice. We got him into the red. I'm like, all right, I think this could be the run. And I've got Aerith as, like, my emergency. Like, if I die, I've got her to, revive us back. But, yeah, they're just back up to shield shenanigans again, right? And it just kind of goes on like that. Like, we've pretty much seen everything the fight does, other than at the end. So let's just fast forward a bit. So you can see they've got a force time here, and it's like this whole force time, like we're just doing nothing, and we still have to kind of ramp up our own, right? So we'll keep going, and then you can see here I've ramped up to a force, but I'm pretty sure my Balthier is out. And I think even during the fight, I didn't fully understand how that healing mechanic worked until I got like near the end here, right? So I'm trying to remember what I do here. I think I go into a Tifa force. Is that what I do? Okay, yep, I'm at 100, and I think I did go into force. So what I should have done here, I should have probably let their force burn out and then gone into mine. Because now I just wasted, because all this force damage is basically negated, because they're healing back on everything I do. So that was another mistake I'd made, so you guys can fix that. Like, don't go, like, if you don't have Balthier force to go into, you just have to take the fight slow, let them eat up their 10 turns, let them get out of force, and then you go in. Because I'm just wasting all this damage. So I was able to stall out here and try to get their turns down, but like, yeah, I didn't actually get to where I can deal damage until they're down to, I was down to 4 turns of force. I only have 476 on the gauge because I was kind of focused on just trying to get them turns. But now we're back to damaging. But you can see, we went through that whole force time down to turn 4, and their health was basically the same. Like, during that entire force time, like, we've made, like, very little progress here. Now we're going to deal progress quickly. So now it's like, all right, let's get through this force. But this is where it gets really slow, is we end this force, and I think I'm completely out. I've used all forces on my team. Selfie doesn't have force, but I used everybody else's, mostly through echoing, which, like I said, I just way over echoed. I think if I handled this fight a little bit, like if I went and did this again, I could definitely clean up this fight. I could cut a lot of turns off. I could cut a lot of time off, but I'm not down for doing this again. I got to get my Dare to Defy run down, right? All right. So there's this, yeah, Tifa pumping out the water kicks. We're getting pretty low there, right? So now we'll keep going. Now we're going to get into a slog again because, it's like, all right, their health is low. This fight should almost be over. Look, they're all down to like 10%, right? The problem is they ramp really fast, and 10% is still a lot of damage to do. So the problem is they're going to ramp into another force. See, watch this. They're going to ramp. They're in a force. So now it's like 7%, 8%, 10%, but now they're healing constantly. So I gotta like wait out this entire 10 turns without a force and barely do damage. So we just go through all that. I've got no forces left. We gotta go all the way till theirs is done. All right, and so now we're on turn 53 all of a sudden. This fight's getting long. And I'm like, let's just get this done. So now we're finally getting into the finishing moments here. I'm just trying to deal damage, but here we'll show that I'll scoot up a little bit. But you can see the enemy on the right, 1% does not die. Now we're going to get the enemy in the middle, the 1%, and they do not die. But I knew they would do something with like, they want AoE, because Like, Twins is a hard character to kind of push, other than really heavy AoE damage. That's how they've always done it for them in the past. And that's kind of what this fight is showing with, like, they don't die until I think they're all down to 1%, or they all have to be dead before any of them can die. And then those really meaty shields, they really were pushing AoE. But this does at least show you can get it done without Twins at all, and you can get it done without Balthier BT. And my Balthier isn't blue either. It's, you know, but he does have FR maxed and rest of his kit done. And we did have an Ultima weapon, but it's like a 0 out of 5, right? Just 50 Ultima cores. Pick up that gun and you're good. I probably would, though, if I ever did get Balthier BT, like, I would probably full invest him, and I would maybe max the Ultima gun, like, do a trade-in 1 month with that. I don't think that would be a bad idea. Alright, so here, they're all at 1%, and now I'm like, alright, why aren't they dying? Like, I'm like, what do I do? And I'm, like, getting really antsy because we're close to turn count, so I'm like, I'll just keep doing AoE attacks and hope I'm doing what the game wants. I hope eventually they die. I was getting really nervous, not gonna lie, because look, they're at 85%. They're about to go into force again. So I'm like, how do I kill them? What do I do? Alright, so then that one, like, died, but it didn't, like, do an animation. And then we have that off turn. Now, and then the second one died, but it didn't do an animation, so I was really thrown off. I'm like, did they actually die? And it's like, oh my god, they just went into force. But I'm like, okay, but he should be at, like, dead. So my thought is, I should attack him, and he should die before he can heal back. That's my hope, right? So I'm like, all right, let's bring in the biggest attack I can. Let's do a Meteor Crusher with Tifa. Let's crush this guy out of here. And then luckily I see the purple numbers. I'm like, all right, this has to be it. And then bam, we got the victory. So I do not blame you all if you're frustrated with this fight. Do not feel bad if you cannot beat it. It is a tough one, man. These 6-man fights are tough. All in all, this is a very hard Dare to Defy cycle because we got a couple of global first fights in there. And the 6-man, very hard. And you can see we barely made turn count on this. A very sloppy run. Definitely, once again, could be improved. But there you go. Balthier, Selfie, Garnet. And then we had Queena, Aerith, and Tifa. So anyways, guys, let me know how you handle this one. Thanks for watching. We'll catch y'all on the next one.